I just kind of cast it as, oh, he's losing his marbles. Had I known, I think I would have handled it better. I think I would have been a much more patient person. I think my father would have felt way less alone.
Ryan Reynolds fired from Marvel after leaked text messages with Blake Lively exposed Hollywood's biggest behind-the-scenes power struggle. Justin Baldoni's shocking receipts reveal a massive manipulation scandal that forced Marvel to cut ties. Was Ryan really the mastermind behind it all? Or was he dragged into a battle he couldn't escape? For over a decade, Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively have been Hollywood's golden couple. Funny, charming, and completely scandal-free. Fans adored their playful social media banter, their red carpet chemistry, and their reputation as one of the most down-to-earth power couples in the industry. But behind the perfectly curated Instagram posts and picture-perfect appearances, cracks were forming. Industry insiders have whispered for years that Ryan and Blake's Hollywood influence goes deeper than most realize. Their carefully controlled image has been meticulously crafted, with the couple ensuring that every headline, interview, and leaked story fits their narrative. Then, out of nowhere, Justin Baldoni, an actor, director, and producer, found himself caught in their web. At first, it seemed like just another Hollywood creative dispute, but then the receipts dropped and suddenly, nothing was as it seemed. But what did those leaked messages actually reveal? The truth was worse than anyone expected.
I'm honored, and I'm also more honored that because, what we're talking about is so important and so meaningful, that we're able to have this much anticipation, and so many people want to go see it and are talking about it. Like, that's what I'm grateful for.
And you had a key part in bringing it to the big screen. How did this all come to be?
Well, in 2019, I read the book. I was sent the book by my book agent and friend at the time, and I was looking for films that could inspire, were commercially viable, but also could really reach in and touch somebody's heart.
It all started with a dream project, Justin Baldoni's film adaptation of a best-selling novel. The story had emotional depth, a dedicated fan base, and huge box office potential. Blake Lively, known for her elegant screen presence, landed one of the leading roles, and excitement for the project started building. Fans were eager to see how Baldoni, who had a reputation for heartfelt storytelling, would bring the novel to life. But behind the scenes, things weren't going so smoothly. From day one, Blake reportedly clashed with Justin over creative decisions. While Justin was set to direct, co-write, and even act in a major role, Blake allegedly felt overshadowed and pushed aside. At first, it was small disagreements, script changes, production schedules, creative choices. But soon, tensions started spiraling out of control. Blake accused Justin of overstepping his boundaries, claiming he was taking too much control over the project. But then, things took an even darker turn. Accusations, media leaks, and a battle for power that would shake Hollywood.
I mean, I internalized that as opportunity. We had such a responsibility to this audience to deliver something and to have the opportunity to deliver something for a passionate group of people.
Yes.
As someone who is so deeply passionate myself, I was so excited about that. I would so much rather have that than people who are indifferent.
Blasé.
Creative differences are nothing new in Hollywood. Actors and directors clash all the time. It's part of the business. But this was different. Behind closed doors, a war was brewing. Rumors started swirling that Blake wasn't just frustrated, she was determined to regain control. And when anonymous sources started leaking negative stories about Justin to the press, suspicions grew. The media initially sided with Blake. Reports painted her as a dedicated actress fighting against an overbearing director. The narrative was clear: Blake was the victim, and Justin was the problem. But then, Justin did the unthinkable. He fought back. And when he released the receipts, everything changed. The leaked text messages flipped the entire narrative on its head. It wasn't Justin smearing Blake. It was Blake controlling the entire situation. The receipts exposed shocking conversations where Blake strategized media coverage, demanded script changes, and even pressured Justin into altering marketing strategies. But the biggest bombshell? Blake referred to her powerful industry connections, including Ryan Reynolds, as her dragons. This wasn't just a casual reference. It was a power play. The messages suggested that Blake and Ryan were using their influence to shape the narrative, pushing Justin out while keeping their image spotless. But was Ryan really just a bystander? Or was he part of the plan all along? That's where things took a shocking turn.
They said, just read it, because I was looking for movies that could be commercial and speak to the human experience. And
Were you reading romance novels?
And I had never read a romance novel.
Never?
And she said, just trust me, read it. So I read it, and by the end of the book, I couldn't even read the text on the page because I was crying so much. My wife was in bed next to me, and she just got that snot coming out of my nose.
From the very start, Ryan Reynolds seemed to keep his distance from the controversy. While media outlets were dissecting every detail of Blake and Justin's behind-the-scenes battle, Ryan said nothing. No tweets, no sarcastic Instagram posts, no late-night talk show appearances addressing the rumors with a joke. For a while, fans assumed he was staying out of his wife's drama, keeping his career separate from the feud. But was he really uninvolved? Then everything changed. More text messages leaked, and this time, Ryan's name was all over them. The messages revealed that Ryan wasn't just aware of Blake's battle with Justin, he was actively involved in controlling the press narrative. According to the leaks, Ryan suggested ways to manipulate media coverage, advised Blake on which journalists to contact, and even coordinated accidental leaks that would paint Justin as the bad guy. For a star known for his fun-loving, wholesome image, this was a disaster. Suddenly, the perfectly polished Ryan Reynolds brand was in jeopardy. And Marvel Studios took notice. They weren't just watching the scandal unfold from the sidelines, they were actively discussing the damage it could do to the franchise. But Marvel had never fired a major A-lister before, so what made them act now?
It's believing that people and humanity are inherently good. And they crave nutritious food in their soul, just as they do in their bodies.
At first, Marvel executives tried to ignore the situation. Ryan Reynolds was one of the biggest names in their roster. His portrayal of Deadpool had transformed him into a billion-dollar box office draw. The studio had already mapped out a long-term plan involving Ryan, including rumored crossovers, sequels, and even potential leadership within the MCU's next phase. But then, the new batch of receipts dropped. According to insiders, Marvel executives held emergency meetings to review the leaked messages. What they found was worse than expected. These weren't just random texts. They were time-stamped conversations, detailed evidence, and clear coordination efforts that painted Ryan as an active participant in a media manipulation campaign. Marvel had a major problem. If they stood by Ryan, they risked public backlash, trust issues with filmmakers, and major reputational damage. If they let him go, they risked millions in lost box office revenue. After days of internal debate, Marvel made the unthinkable decision. Ryan Reynolds had to go. But how do you fire one of the biggest stars in Hollywood without destroying your own brand in the process? When Marvel finally made the announcement, the industry was stunned. The studio's official statement was cold, direct, and final. They confirmed that Ryan Reynolds was no longer part of the franchise, citing a recent review of disclosed information that made his position untenable. For a studio that usually relies on vague corporate statements, this was uncharacteristically harsh. The message was clear: Ryan wasn't just being quietly pushed out. Marvel wanted to distance itself from him entirely. Hollywood insiders immediately started speculating. Had Marvel seen even more damaging evidence that wasn't made public? Was Disney behind the decision, forcing Marvel to cut ties before it spiraled further? Whatever the reason, the consequences were massive. Ryan Reynolds was officially out, and suddenly, his once unstoppable Hollywood career was on shaky ground. But the fallout didn't stop there, because now, all eyes were on Blake Lively.
And being frank, if it were not for women giving me direct feedback in my own personal life and being a man who was willing to at least listen to them, there's no chance that I would be having this conversation. So the message, to answer your question, the message is very simple. As men, we need to embrace all of the parts of us that make us human. That's it. It's very simple.
For weeks, Blake had been fighting back hard. She had her legal team, publicists, and Hollywood allies defending her in the press. But after Marvel's shocking decision, something shifted. Suddenly, Blake went silent. Her once active social media presence disappeared. She stopped attending events. And then, in an even more shocking twist, her own attorney dropped her. According to reports, her lawyer cited irreconcilable differences with her account of events. Translation? Even her own legal team wasn't buying her story anymore. That's when fans started turning against her. At the start of the controversy, Blake had been framed as the victim, an actress struggling against a controlling director. But now, with so much evidence contradicting her claims, people began questioning. Had she been manipulating the situation from the start? And if so, was she the reason Ryan got dragged down with her? While Blake disappeared from the public eye, Ryan was left fighting for his Hollywood survival. Could he recover from this, or was his career officially over? Studios are now hesitant to work with Ryan. His carefully crafted comedic persona has taken a major hit. Can he make a comeback? Or is this the end of the road for one of Hollywood's biggest stars? Let us know in the comments. And if you want more deep dives into Hollywood's biggest scandals, don't forget to like and subscribe.